Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Super Jesus Jackson. This is a weird video to do. The SnyderVerse is officially dead. Bury it. Cue Batman v Superman reference here.
The Bat is dead. Bury it.
Many of you know I love Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's films, comic book films, to me are the pinnacle of the genre, as probably many of you, agree with me. Many of you who have subscribed to my channel. But James Gunn and Peter Safran, James Gunn being the creative lead and Peter Safran being the producing lead over at Discovery, or Warner Brothers Discovery, they've taken essentially complete control. I mean, they're not like, gonna rule the whole DC studios with dictator powers, but James Gunn is essentially the Kevin Feige of DC Studios. And that has a whole lot of other implications. That is probably another video within of itself, but we know that the SnyderVerse is officially dead because Henry Cavill went on Instagram and he basically said, I had a meeting with Peter Safran and James Gunn, and they do not want me to return as Superman. They would like me to, at some point, maybe, have a role in the DC universe that they're building in the future, but as Superman, I'm out. And that was a punch in the gut, because Henry Cavill is the Superman of my generation. It definitely was the universe that I was rooting for. I've always been a DC fanboy. I am not afraid of calling myself a fanboy. It is who I am. I love DC. I think DC characters are better than Marvel characters, in my opinion. I think I think they have better storylines, better characters, and I think a lot of people do agree with that. Even people who love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this is, no disrespect to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not here to bash on anything or anyone. It just wasn't up to my taste. But granted, I will say I never really gave it a chance. I watched a few Marvel movies here and there, and they weren't my cup of tea. And so Zack Snyder's universe and the way that he directed his movies, the way those movies were written, by Chris Terrio and David S. Goyer, I really loved those films in every way. And those films, to me, where they were vegetables to me, as in when I first ate them, it was weird. I didn't know how to feel. And it took time. It took a long time for me to understand and really dissect everything and understand what Zack Snyder was trying to do. He was the complete antithesis of a superhero film, right? That's what his goal was. And I really gravitated towards that. And with Henry Cavill being out, Henry Cavill was the start of all of that, right? With Man of Steel. He was the beginning. And so to me, when James Gunn and Peter Safran decided to not have Henry Cavill continue as Superman, that essentially meant to me everything about the SnyderVerse, everything from Jason Momoa to Gal Gadot, and all the characters that Zack Snyder had brought to this world, Ezra Miller, of course, they are not going to continue in this new James Gunn / Peter Safran DC universe. And that's totally their right to do that. Obviously, it makes sense. I think if I am a Warner Brothers businessman, it is a fact that Zack Snyder's trilogy of superhero films just did not resonate with the public with the way that Warner Brothers Discovery and, really primarily Warner Brothers wanted. But I will, kind of make the argument that obviously Marvel started first building their cinematic universe. When DC wanted to do it, it was a little bit too late in the game. And when they were doing it, they still had quite a bit of success. They had a reasonable amount of success with only 3 films. The original, the Justice League, as some call it, that was not a success at all. That was definitely the straw that broke the camel's back, I'm pretty sure. But, if we were just to judge it from Man of Steel to Batman v Superman, considering we were 2 movies into the DC universe, that's pretty good. The amount of money they made, but obviously critically, and a movie, at least with the name Batman versus Superman, should have garnered way more money than it actually did. But again, they did put a movie out like this in a world where the audience was used to the success of Marvel films. They were used to the way those films are made, and those movies are totally not that, right? They're the complete antithesis, as I mentioned, right? Once you take out Henry Cavill, because he's the building block of the SnyderVerse, to me, that means everything else is dead. And of course, we're still going to get The Flash. We're still going to get Aquaman 2. Those movies, are still going to release. Shazam 2, of course, Fury of the Gods. Those movies are going to release, but I think Shazam is safe, though. I think he'll continue, which is interesting. But I think everyone else, I think they're officially done. I think they're going to move forward with a different set of actors to play these characters. I think that they're starting from the very beginning, and I don't blame them. From an economic standpoint, they're doing what they think they need to do to make money. And you know what? I think I've come to terms that pop culture is just not going to dig Zack Snyder in terms of when it comes to superheroes, that is, right? They're just not going to dig what he does. And I'm okay with that. Like, they don't need to. We do. We the fans do. But like I said, it is what it is. They have to do it for the business to save the DC brand, right, in terms of making money and just in terms of the pop culture in general. I don't blame them for doing what they need to do. And here's the thing with Henry Cavill, he put out this statement, and it was the most Superman statement of all time. He was just so humble, and he's always been very humble. He's the best. And he said, I completely wish James Gunn and his new team the best. And this does not mean the end of Superman. It just means that it's the end for me, but Superman is still here. And let's continue to uphold Superman's values. And that is just that's Superman. Henry Cavill is Superman to me. And that's the thing is, he was our Superman. He was my Superman. Christopher Reeve, as much as that was iconic, it just doesn't speak to me as much as Henry Cavill. And that's just primarily due to generation, just a different generational time, right? That's it. To kind of prepare for another video that I have in which I'm going to talk about a little bit of how I feel about James Gunn and Peter Safran leading the DC universe. We already know that Superman is the center of this new universe, which I am very happy about, but I do plan to make a new video, a separate video talking about how I feel about James Gunn leading this new universe, because, even though he has the right, intentions and the right idea and the right framework, the execution is of course, the difference, because there's just some differences between Zack Snyder and James Gunn, and I'd like to talk about them, and I want to do it in a way where it doesn't completely crap on anyone. I want to be sort of objective, but obviously it is my opinion. To prepare for that video, I watched The Suicide Squad, and I'm going to give my thoughts on that other video. But for this video, I really just want to focus on the fact that the SnyderVerse is no longer going to happen, but also that I am so glad that whatever did happen, happened. We have to be thankful for that, because to me, and I've said this before in other videos, it's insane to me how Zack Snyder managed to put out the 3 films that he did, and really 2 films. And the 3rd film is a freaking Christmas miracle, okay? Like with Zack Snyder's Justice League. I just want to say, I'm grateful for what we did get. It's insane to me how it did happen, first and foremost, just because, especially after Batman v Superman, it's just... And even a little bit, like I said, even after Man of Steel, I mean, it's just, this universe was just not what Marvel was, because that was the formula. That's the formula that you have to do, And even when DC tries to somewhat kind of do that formula, we've seen with Shazam and Black Adam, they still don't manage to get that success. And part of that is just because, when you start off kind of on the wrong foot, it's just very hard to kind of get everything together by the end. And that's what's happening with DC, right? And that's why they have to rebuild from the very beginning. And even though there are some good pieces on the board, if the tactics and the strategy and the whole game sucks, you gotta replace everything. You gotta start from scratch, That's really the soft spot for me is Henry Cavill. But really in general, the SnyderVerse, it's sad to know that it's officially dead. Let's be honest. And if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's dead. And, but we had a good run. We did, everyone. And this is something that I'm going to say, probably elaborate more on my upcoming The Suicide Squad video. But I will say that, in a way, the SnyderVerse to me, I don't think at the bottom of my heart I necessarily want, 20 films in the SnyderVerse. I don't think I want that. I don't think I ever really wanted that. I just wanted maybe 4 films. 4, max 5 films or whatever in the Snyder universe. And I'm glad we got 3 of them. That is more than enough for me. But I think the SnyderVerse, and I think the way that Zack Snyder approached these films in terms of tone, in terms of story, I think they fit better as just like a solid, 4, max 5 film franchise, really, maybe even the sweet spot being 4 films. I really, it's just such a tight story, but it has so much depth, And this is what I'm saying is that, Marvel Studios treated its films like a cinematic television. That's what it was, right? Whereas Zack Snyder approached his films more like films. They were just super heavy on material, super thought-provoking. If we think about it, we did get a lot. We got a lot out of it because I just don't think it was going to be... I don't think it was meant to be a 20-film franchise. It's just not. I don't see it that way, and I don't think I want that. If you were going to do that, that would definitely, I think, sacrifice part of the Zack Snyder charm of his storytelling. I'm just happy we got what we got. And it's really thanks to Warner Brothers and the type of culture that they had at the time. This really director-focused studio that was not the Marvel Studios, corporate way of doing films. But now things are going to change. So I'm going to do my thoughts on that in another video, but this video is dedicated to Zack Snyder. It's dedicated to all the writers involved in these films. It's dedicated to all the actors that were involved in the SnyderVerse. God damn it. I almost forgot. Ben Affleck. You son of a... You are the best Batman. You're the best live-action Batman of all time. He is the most passionate about Batman. He is Batman. He's Bruce Wayne. He embodies everything that the Batman is. And but hey, there might be some good news. He might be returning to direct a DC Universe movie in James Gunn's, DC Universe. And it might be Batman. I mean, it very well be. It better be. Because apparently the Batman script that he did write was, according to some sources, the best Batman script ever. And I believe it. It's freaking Ben Affleck. And of course, we're still gonna see Aquaman 2 and the Lost Kingdom, The Flash, Shazam, Fury of the Gods. We are very much still going to see those films. But I think very much after that, it'll be like 3 or something like that years, and then we will see the beginning of James Gunn's DC universe. Thank you to all of you, and to the SnyderVerse and everything. Just, I'm extremely grateful. Don't worry, everyone. We still have those films. We still have these great, great films. We'll never lose them. They'll be there forever.